What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota, and welcome back to Colognes. Today, we're going to be looking at and reviewing Jean-Paul Gaultier's Beau Paradise Garden. So, if you can't tell, there's not a whole lot in this. Unfortunately, I was not able to get a full bottle of this. I was only able to get a partial bottle of this, about 20 mils worth. And I've worn it several times just to kind of get a breakdown of it and kind of figure out how I wanted to do it. So, fair warning to this video, this was a partial when I got it, so there's only about 5 mils left. But what can you do? Alrighty, so as we do in every video, I'm still going to go ahead and show off the atomizer, even though there's not much of this left. The atomizer is actually pretty rock solid. It's got a great burst. Jean-Paul Gaultier is known for kind of doing these. Jean-Paul Gaultier is known for having very good atomizers on a lot of his fragrances, and they all come with these nice little collars on them and stuff too. So one thing you get when this first hits the air is you get a very, very fruity, sweet fragrance with a lot of coconut, which means it's going to have like a tropical feel to it. Some of that coconut is right there on the nose as soon as it gets open. And honestly, that's kind of what leads this to be such a summer vibes kind of fragrance. So with a name like Paradise Garden, with what they were going for, I actually feel like the name fits the fragrance pretty well. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put spritz there on the wrist, get that drying down a little bit. And again, when you first spray this, when it first hits your skin, you have a wonderful blend of some green notes, some fresh notes, that coconut, 100% you can tell it's in there. And then this also has a little bit of ginger in the top, and some of the ginger you can kind of tell it's there. Some of that green ginger mix gives it like a really good fresh kind of feel to it. But as this just run down, we're going to go over the bottle, going to go over some of the notes. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, as we get straight into the notes, the top notes on this are going to be green notes, watery notes, mint, and ginger. And when you first spray this, you get a lot of those green notes, a little bit of the watery notes. I don't get much mint on the opening or ginger, but as it gets down to the middle notes are going to be coconut, fig, and salt. And funny enough, as it dries down, a lot of those green notes and mint notes start to pull through in the middle way more than the top. And they blend beautifully with that coconut and fig. You don't get much salt through any of this fragrance though, so that one was kind of weird to me. The base notes on this is going to be tonka bean and sandalwood, and all the way through the dry down, the sandalwood to me is very much a background note. It's not really a dominant note in this fragrance at all. The tonka bean, same as well. It's a very soft, subtle tonka bean they put in this. But as this fragrance gets drying down some more, I'm gonna get y'all flipped back around and we'll get into the rest of it. And alrighty, and we are back. So one of the notes off that opening is mint, and that mint does a pretty good job of starting to shine through as it dries all the way down. But as this dries down, you are still left with very much a coconutty fig kind of fragrance. And the fig note that they used in this doesn't really have that much of an impact until it starts to get further deep down into the dry down. The salt in this, oddly enough, I don't pick up any salt in this. It's kind of weird. I'd never really smelt salt in a fragrance. And it seems like over the past couple months, every fragrance I've been getting my hand on for some reason has salt in it, which, I mean, it's not bad. It smells good. It's not something that I pictured really having a smell, I guess. But yeah, so all the way through the mid into the base of the dry down on this, it stays very tropical. It stays very fresh. It stays pretty light. Honestly, it seems to be rock solid so far. But what we're going to do now is we're going to get into the price, performance, and the worst part, availability. So the price of this is kind of tough to say because price and availability go hand in hand. This fragrance is insanely hard to get in the US. It's available for sale everywhere else, except not in the US for some reason. When you can find it in the US, it's always going to be on discounters, and it's going to be somewhere between probably 150 to 170. The 75 mils running for about 110 whenever you do see places have it in stock. And if you do see it in stock, if you want to try this fragrance, you're going to have to kind of take a gamble on it because it will be sold out almost immediately. I've seen this come into stock one time and it was sold out within like 30 minutes. So luckily for me though, I do know a couple decanters. I was able to get them to save me a little bit of juice left in an actual bottle with a full pres. That way I can kind of give a breakdown on it. But yeah, that is going to be the biggest limiting factor on this fragrance, is just getting your hands on it as a whole. Now, if you do live outside of the US, this is a wonderful fragrance for you to have. This is a rock solid summertime fragrance that has really good performance. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So the longevity on this, much like most Jean Paul Gaultier fragrances, are very good. I got like 8 or 9 hours out of the first 2, 3 times I've worn this. And to me, for what this is, that is rock solid. Sillage on this, very good as well. You get that 2 to 3 foot sillage. And projection's kind of where it falls just a little bit. It's okay, nothing worth bragging about, but it's still solid enough. Alrighty, so I gave this just a little bit more time to dry down some more. Now the fragrance, when it does spray, doesn't have a huge change, but it's got a little bit of that change. The biggest change that I've noticed from when you first spray it all the way into the dry down is some of the watery notes that they use die off a little bit. The mint actually gets a little bit stronger. The coconut and the fig definitely get stronger. And to me, the sandalwood note that they used in this isn't very dominant. It's a very light background note at best. It's not really present in this at all. The tonka that they used in this, the tonka bean, is pretty good. It's also very light. The blend of this fragrance, it smells very good. It does smell very natural. This doesn't, to me, doesn't have a lot of synthetic notes going into it. But the blend of this, you can't really tell that some of the stuff is in here. The biggest 2 things that I could tell by far and away, fig and coconut, and you get those all the way through, which leads this to be, a perfect summer fragrance because it's light, it's airy, it's going to have that little bit of a tropical fruity vibe to it, which just bodes itself to go very well with Le Beau. Yeah, I think of the Le Beau line, this one definitely is my favorite. I wasn't really the biggest fan of the Le Beau, the original Le Beau. The Le Beau Le Parfum, that one was pretty good. Kind of a weird dry down on that one to me. It felt like that fragrance kind of fought against itself just a little. This one feels much more complete. This one, I feel like they had a very forward-facing direction they wanted to go, and that's exactly what they did with it. So to me, that's what I love about this fragrance. All right, so if I had to give this fragrance a rating right now, it's hard for me to argue with a lot of this fragrance. I feel like as an overall rating, I would give it a 9.5. The only thing I'm going to dock it on, and just a little, is the blend of the notes don't really match the fragrance you get. And what I mean by that is some of the salt notes you can't pick up really. To me, the sandalwood is very light. Some of the tonka bean, even though it's there, it is very light. I feel like this is a very just coconut-y, fig kind of heavy fragrance with like some mint and ginger undertones. And unfortunately, as much as I do like this fragrance, because I genuinely enjoy this, I'm not the biggest fan of coconut fragrance. So for me, it's a fragrance that I would love wearing this for 5 or 6 hours, but the fragrance to me just gets a little bit old. I do like wearing this. I'm still going to continue to wear it, but it's a fragrance that I'm going to wear very lightly. I'm probably not going to refresh this one if I do only get 5 or 6 hours out of this, which I know I'll get more, but if I only got 5 or 6 out of this, it'd be perfect for me. That would still be fine. So all in all, I do like this fragrance. It's rock solid. I'm going to give it a 9.5. There's not really much I could change about this, honestly. But as far as fragrance in my collection goes, my wife absolutely loves this fragrance. I want to say from the moment I got it, from the moment I put it on, I think she called this a top 10 in my collection. The few times I've worn this, I've gotten a substantial amount of compliments. This seems to be a crowd pleaser. This seems to be a people pleaser type of fragrance, which is awesome for a new fragrance to be like that. So that's always a plus. And I feel like this one did gain a lot of hype coming behind it, which to me is kind of funny because it's not available in the US, but the people that did have it really seem to love it and really seem to hype it up. I can see where some of that came from. I do think it might have been overhyped just a hair. Some of that coconut in there is a little hard to deal with, but I feel like it would be a rock solid buy. I feel like 90% of the people that would want to buy this are going to love it. But that is going to get us wrapped up for today's fragrance. I'm going to get in on this one more time, and it's going to be Le Beau's Paradise Garden. As a whole, it may not sound like it. I really do enjoy this fragrance. I really do like wearing this fragrance. This is going to be a fragrance where if I can get my hands on a full bottle of this, I would happily keep a full bottle of this in my collection. The fact that I'm not the biggest fan of like coconut and fig and stuff like that, and the fact they were able to put such a good blend on this to where I want it and I want to wear it and stuff like that, which to me just speaks volumes to the quality that went into this to make someone want to wear a fragrance that they traditionally wouldn't like. I feel like that would make this just a rock star fragrance. So even though I'm personally not going to give it a 10, you can't go wrong with this in any way, shape, or form, having something like this. So speaking of getting to the bottle, I went ahead and hopped up and grabbed the container, the can this comes into. I have a real good appreciation for this can right here. I feel like the design that they did on this is just absolutely awesome. I love it when companies do crazy stuff like this. So that is an A+ presentation right there. So as a whole, for everything you get with this, I feel like it's completely justified in the price. I feel like it's a fragrance that over time, hopefully the US does get it. And I feel like over time, this will turn into, some people, this will be a staple in their collection. So for me, I know whenever I do get a bottle of this, because I'm going to be trying to hunt one down, it's going to be one that I try to hold on to for as long as I can. And hopefully this one doesn't get discontinued soon. That is going to get us wrapped up. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing, for sticking around, for staying tuned, watching these videos. I truly appreciate it. I love it when people comment and the feedback I've been getting on the channel lately. So genuinely, thank you. Hopefully we're going to be at 500 subscribers soon. We're going to be doing a giveaway. Going to be trying to, give back to the fragrance community and the YouTube community that's helping me enjoy this hobby so much. So sincerely, thank you for that. But as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.